Here now to explain why voters should decide who wins the election, not a Secretary of State, is South Dakota Governor. Our good friend Kristi Noem is back. Thank you, Governor, for joining us. Can I ask, do you work with the Secretary of your state? And tell us how these Secretary of States out of nowhere can unilaterally pull someone they don't like or don't agree with off a ballot.
Yeah, well, I believe the action she took was unconstitutional, and that'll be rectified in the future. But in South Dakota, certainly we work with our Secretary of State all the time. They're elected statewide, nominated by their party through their conventions that they have each year, and then have a runoff on a statewide ballot and get elected to a whole separate office from my office and the executive branch. And we work very closely with our Secretary of State. What they do matters. They do a lot of business filings, a lot of Second Amendment right filings and permitting. They also run our elections and the integrity of our elections, although we have the opportunity to bring bills, and legislators have opportunities to bring bills that change election laws. For instance, one of the bills that I championed just during our last legislative session was to ban private dollars from influencing our elections. We made sure that there wouldn't be a Zuck Bucks type of situation in South Dakota, and I championed that and got that done. And now I expect our Secretary of State will follow that election law. So, you know, the people have a chance to weigh in here and to really share their opinions about the facts that they're the ones who elect the president, not the Secretary of State in a little state called Maine, where things certainly aren't going very well for them or the people that live there anyways.
Yeah, Governor, is it my imagination, or is it just getting crazy time out there? You have Colorado. The Supreme Court in Colorado said that they were going to pull Trump off the ballot. That will likely go to the U.S. Supreme Court. But the Colorado Secretary of State is a lady named Jena Griswold, also a Democrat. She was praising this Shenna Bellows from Maine recently. Listen.
I don't believe there should be some loophole in the Constitution that puts only Donald Trump above the law and Constitution when he incites rebellion or incites an insurrection. The other thing I would say is I do think Secretary Bellows is brave and courageous. She is the first individual by herself having to make this decision. And we are acutely aware of the threat environment that we work in. So I commend her for her actions, and we'll see how the litigation inevitably plays out in the state of Maine.
She calls her courageous. Governor, this woman, not even a lawyer, made a legal decision to pull Trump off the ballot unilaterally, and another knucklehead from another state that can't stand Trump with Trump derangement syndrome calls her courageous. Your thoughts?
Well, that interview I just watched you play scares me a little bit, just watching her talk. She seems so disconnected from even what reality is. So listen, these two Secretary of States, what they've decided is that they are judge and jury, and that we don't need a criminal justice system in the United States anymore. We don't need law and order, and we don't need a constitution. They can just decide on what their definition of insurrection is and their definition of how someone participates in it or talks about it or even discusses it. So, you know, if their reality were allowed to move forward, the United States of America would cease to exist. So it is incredibly important that these two women are proven wrong, that the Supreme Court steps in and gives us guidance on what truly the scales of justice mean in this situation, and we allow the opportunity to protect the integrity of our elections. We are going to be electing the leader of the free world. If you look at the chaos that is going on in the world between the threats that we face, Russia and what Israel is facing, and Ukraine and North Korea and the unrest that we see, we need a leader of the free world that knows what he's doing and knows how to form a full sentence and can walk up a few flights of stairs too and work a full day without taking a break. So I just truly believe that we need to realize that when Iowa has their caucuses, when New Hampshire meets, South Carolina, all these, that the whole world will be watching the results of that. That's how important these elections are, and that we can trust them, that we get the right person in the White House.